Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first webinar in the Aspiring Leaders webinar series. This topic tonight is going to be on tech tools and tips, and we're so excited to have you. For those of you who are part of the Aspiring Leaders cohort, either as a mentor or as a aspiring leader, just a reminder that you can earn credits for being part of this. So we'll talk more about that. So take good notes as Jennifer's speaking tonight. And without further, I'm going to have Jennifer introduce herself and talk to you about tech tools and tips. Thank you, Jennifer, for being our first host tonight.
Well, thank you, Jodie. I'm just thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to kick off this webinar series with this awesome group. I think this Aspiring Leaders cohort is an incredible idea. And I'm just going to share a little bit of personal experience and then get into the tech tools and tips. And so just to share a little bit about myself, this is my 24th year as an educator. I taught for 4 years and then got out of education for a couple of years because I thought, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? And so during that time that I was out of education, I realized that this truly is where I'm supposed to be. And so I got back into teaching, and I taught for 6 more years. And during that time, I went to graduate school and got my administrative degree, just as many of you aspiring leaders have done or are currently doing right now. And I had gotten my degree that July and then went back to school thinking I would be in the classroom. And 2 weeks into the school year, one of our assistant principals left and went to be the principal at a school nearby. So I applied for that assistant principal position, and I got it. And so I became an assistant principal for the next 3 years. And I remember the feeling of going from a classroom teacher to an administrator. I went from being a person in the building that had, 100 other people in the building who did what I did to being one of 3 assistant principals. Now, this was 2004. So this was before social media. This was before you could really connect very well on the internet. We had, like AOL chat rooms, if you remember those. We had email, but it was nothing like how it is now. And it's such an opportunity now for aspiring leaders, for leaders to connect. And so when I became that assistant principal, the only way really that I could connect with other assistant principals was when I went to a conference or, if there were events locally and I got to meet up with other assistant principals around, but I didn't know them very well. And so, it was just a little more difficult to find people who did what I did and to learn from them. And so what I'm going to share with you tonight are a lot of tools in a way that you can create your own network. Even if you're not an administrator yet, I just want to encourage you. A phrase I like to say is dig your well before you're thirsty, because before you ever get that position, you want to be ready for it. And so I went from being an assistant principal for 3 years, and then I went to a nearby school and became the principal for 2 years. When I was there, again, social media was nothing like it is now. And so I wasn't connected as an educator then. And it was a really trying time. It was a really, tough experience. And I didn't have the connections then that I had now. And if I had had the connections then that I have now, it may have been a different story for me at that school and as the principal. And so I left there and came to my current school, which I absolutely love. And I'm currently in my 12th year as an administrator, my 12th year as an assistant principal, which is just crazy. And I love it here, and I'm a connected educator, and I learn from the people inside my building as well as people across the country. And so I just want to encourage you to really start building your network now. Start connecting to people who are doing the job that you want to do so that you can learn from them. And what I'm talking about is a PLN, a personal learning network. And you've probably heard that phrase before, but there's 3 things that having a personal learning network can do for you. One, it personalizes your learning. So you can create a network of people that you want to learn from. If there are certain skills, certain knowledge that you really feel like you need to learn, you'll be able to tailor your network for those reasons. The second thing is you'll have access to experts in the field, thought leaders, people with who are doing things in their schools that you've only heard about. So you have access to practitioners who are doing the kind of things that you're going to be doing as a school leader. And then the third is that the people who are on social media are there because they want to be there. There's so much positivity, so much encouragement, and just support that you can find there. And it's really needed in the jobs that we do, because we are always pouring into staff members, we're pouring into colleagues, we're pouring into kids day in and day out. And that's a place where you can get your bucket filled when you have this personal learning network. So I just want to encourage everyone to go ahead and start building that network, so that when you become an administrator, as you're aspiring to do, that you already have that network there to provide the support that you're going to need when you get in that job. Okay? And so there are lots of tools that are out there to build a PLN. There's Twitter, there's Voxer, there's blogging, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, there's Snapchat, there's Pinterest, there's all kinds of places. And so we're going to talk about a few tonight. We're going to talk about Twitter, and we're going to talk about Voxer, and we're going to talk about blogging. And so I'm just going to share with you some ideas that I have about it from my experiences. And so I hope that that what I share with you tonight is going to be helpful. Okay. And so one of the questions that Jodie got back when we were planning this webinar was how to host a Twitter chat. And so I just want to make sure that everyone understands how a Twitter chat works. And so a Twitter chat is a conversation that happens on Twitter, and it happens around a certain hashtag. And it happens at a certain time. So for instance, I'm one of the co-founders of Alabama Ed Chat. And so the hashtag is ALEdChat. And it happens every Monday night at 9 o'clock. It's like Cheers. We show up at 9 o'clock, we say hello to each other, and then we have these conversations around education topics. Last week or 2 weeks ago, I led a conversation about assessments. And then last week, the conversation was about authentic learning. So in these different chats, you're going to have different topics that you're going to be able to talk about. They generally last about an hour. For the first 5 minutes or so, it's usually people greeting each other. You introduce yourself, where you're from, where you're tweeting from, and it kind of gets everybody warmed up for the chat. And so then the moderator, they're going to ask usually between 5 and 10 questions. And they're going to start the question with Q1, Q2, Q3. And then when you answer as a participant, you're going to start your answer with either A1, A2, A3, and so on to answer the question that the question that it corresponds to. And so during the chat too, it's okay to have a side conversation or a side comment. So if someone answers a question and maybe mentions something that how they've done it in their school before, it's okay to say, hey, can you tell me more about that? And tweet right to that person. Say, do you have a link to a blog post? Can you share that resource with me? Can you tell me more about that? It's completely okay to do that. What you don't want to do is to go in and self-promote. So if it's your first time to join a chat and maybe you're already a blogger, you don't want to go in and leave lots of links to your blog posts and kind of self-promote in that way. It is okay to share some blog posts about some topics maybe that you've written about that relate to the conversation, but you're really there to start building relationships, to start building that network. Retweets are great. If you hear something that you like, you read something that you like in the chat, be sure to retweet that. Be sure to follow up too. Start following some of the people who are in the chat, and maybe the next day you can tweet them and say, hey, I'd love to hear more about what it is you shared in the chat last night. Could you share that Google Doc with me or share that resource with me? So that's a great way to start building your network, especially if you find a chat that you really like and you start becoming a regular in that chat. Because what you'll find is that normally there is a group of regular people who attend certain chats. If you're not sure how to find a chat, talk to people that you know, anyone in this group, the Aspiring Leaders cohort. Ask people in this group what chats they like to attend. Cybrary Man, Jerry Bloomgarden, is also a terrific resource. If you don't know about him, you need to follow him on Twitter. His Twitter handle is CybraryMan1. So it's like library, but it's Cybrary. So CybraryMan1. Jerry Bloomgarden, and he has a whole page of resources about everything. He just curates resources, and so his website is just terrific. And so on there, there's actually a Twitter chat schedule. And so find some chats that interest you. Once you find those chats, start putting them in your calendar. So if you're going to join Alabama Ed Chat on Monday nights, then you'll put it in your calendar every Monday night at 9 o'clock, or Ohio Ed Chats on Wednesday nights, Lead Up Chats on Saturdays. Sat Chat is a older chat. It's very popular. That's on Saturday mornings. So find some chats that you like and then try to become a regular there. And I thought that was a great question on how to join a Twitter chat. But I also wanted to share there's 2 tools that you might want to try when you join a Twitter chat. One is tweetchat.com and the other is tweetdeck.com. And so they're real easy to use, very intuitive. And so when you go to tweetchat.com, for instance, it's going to ask you what hashtag you're trying to follow. And so you'll just enter that hashtag and it filters out everything except for tweets that contain that specific hashtag. And then in tweetdeck.com, you log in through Twitter, and then you can do a search for that hashtag, and it will create a column for you. And so it will organize the tweets for you into separate columns, which is terrific because, you know, Twitter can be overwhelming. Sometimes it's like, you know, trying to take a drink out of a fire hose. So, you know, TweetDeck is an awesome tool, even if you're not in a chat, just to keep some tweets organized. So I thought that was a great question from our cohort, and wanted to make sure that I shared that with you. I also want to share another tool for building a personal learning network, and that's Voxer. If you're not familiar with Voxer, Voxer is like a walkie-talkie app. Think of it as a group chat of voicemails, okay? So you've been in a group chat before with text, and people text back and forth. But here it's the same concept, but it's with voicemails. And so when I first heard about Voxer, I was thinking, how is this useful? You know, why would I leave a Vox for my husband? I would just call him and leave a voicemail. And I was really only thinking about people that I know personally. But what's really cool is that, you know, I know a lot of people on Twitter, and I might not have their cell phone number, or I might not want to give my cell phone number out, but I'm okay to leave a voicemail or get a voicemail on Voxer. And so when you leave these messages or Voxes, it's really cool because you can hear people's accents, you can hear their passion in their voice, you can hear the enthusiasm. It just takes the conversation to another level, and it's really, really cool. And you just feel like you get to know people better when you can hear their voices. You know, I think that what's really cool now too is like when you go to conferences and you meet these people in person, you feel like they're already friends of yours, like you already know them. So that's a cool thing to try. If you're not familiar with Voxer, you can find Jodie or myself on Voxer. We'll be glad to help you with that. And then there's education Voxer groups out there. And it's under the hashtag EduVoxers groups. And so there is a spreadsheet out there, and Jodie's going to send a follow-up email to the cohort, which will have these resources in it. And we'll provide a link to that so that you'll be able to see some of the different groups. So if you find a group that interests you, there's a link to join it. You can join that group. And then think of it like if you're familiar with Twitter chats, it's almost like a slow chat. So people listen at their convenience and contribute when they can. Lots of people just listen more than they contribute, and that's okay too. And I'm just going to give you a little hint, because when I first heard Voxer too, I was like, how am I going to make time for one more thing? You know, I just didn't see how I would have time for it. And so what I started doing was I listened to Voxer on my way to work and on my way home from work. So it's in the car. I've chunked my time. I don't do it, constantly throughout the day. I listen at those specific times. And it's during a time when I would be driving anyway. I would just be riding home. And so now Voxer's become my new, talk radio. I can just listen to Voxes. I can respond if I want to. And it's just really a neat tool. And so I want to encourage you that if you're not on Voxer, to get on it and try it. It's scary in the beginning to think that somebody's going to hear your voice and maybe you don't like your voice, but it's going to be okay, and it'll get better as you do it. Okay, it'll get easier and you'll get more comfortable with it. And I just really could not encourage you more to get on Voxer and to connect there. And so the other thing that I want to share with you is a website. It's one of my favorite websites. And as an aspiring leader, you might be thinking, why is she telling us about this website? This is not going to make me a better administrator. But what this is going to do is it's going to be a tool for your toolbox, whether now as an aspiring leader or when you become a leader. And so the website is called canva.com, C-A-N-V-A, canva.com. This is a site that provides free fonts, free images, free illustrations, and you can create all kinds of graphics. They have templates for the correct size for Twitter. They have templates for 8.5 by 11. So if you need to create a PDF, you can do it there. They have templates for blog posts, for Facebook posts, social media posts, all kinds. And so when you go here, you can create all kinds of posters for your hallways. You can create memos. You can create newsletters. If you have a school Facebook page that you run or that you contribute to, using an image on a site like that is very eye-catching, and it just helps to get more attention when you use an image like that. If you've looked at any of the stats on social media and using images, there is a huge increase in interaction with tweets and with posts when there's an image there. That's why Instagram has 710 million monthly users on their site. It's just incredible. And so I want you to go to canva.com and start creating images that can be used on your school Facebook page, on your school website, in your classroom. Let your principal know that you're helpful in this way and that you're willing to take on extra responsibilities. And this might be the way that you can do that. So it's just a really cool site. It's a neat tool for your toolbox because you never know if you're going to have to create a poster for the hallway or, create a thank you card for your staff or for students, things like that. So it's just, you'll come up with a bunch of ways to use it, I know, and it's a free site. I don't pay for anything on that site. They have a ton of resources that are free and useful. And so another question that was asked of Jodie is, how do you get your message out? Like, how do you communicate with parents, with staff, with your community? And so I'm going to share just a few ways. And one is remind.com. You're probably familiar with remind.com. It's a texting service. Kids today, all of us have our cell phones on us all the time. I've got my cell phone here. We always have our cell phones. And so to push out a message to parents and to students that's going to come to their phone that they don't have to seek out, it's going to come to them, that's huge. And so with Remind, it is going to send a text to them from a number that's not your phone number. So you can keep your phone number private. And so, so think about it. You could have a group for certain students. You could have a group for staff members. You can send out reminders about upcoming professional development workshops. You could send out reminders about things that are due, things that need to be turned in, emergency uses, school closings, reminders about pictures that are going to be taken, all kinds of things. Remind.com. Smore.com, S-M-O-R-E, is a terrific site to build newsletters that you can send out. If you do a weekly newsletter for your staff, you do a monthly newsletter for your parents, that's a terrific site. And then don't forget about email, good old email. Everybody uses email, and most everybody uses email at work, and so they can get their email there. If you have Gmail, then you need to know about Boomerang. Boomerang allows you to schedule emails. So if you have a Sunday afternoon and you've got several emails that you can write, or your weekly email, you can set it to go out the next Monday morning. You could set it to go out on Friday. but it allows you to have some control over when you write your emails and when they go out. So Boomerang is a great app. Check that out. And those are three great ways to get your message out. And so the last thing that I want to talk about in this little bit of time that we have remaining is about blogging. And so you might be scared to think, I have nothing to say. Who's going to read my blog? Why would I want to blog? And how do I blog? And so if you have a Google account, then you have a Blogger account. And so that's a really easy to use platform. Blogger, WordPress, don't get hung up on where you need to do your blogging. But I want to share with you some reasons why you want to create a blog. In today's times, it's like an online resume. So you can get your thoughts out there. People can learn about you, what you believe in, some of the things that you've done, your practices. It's almost like an online resume or portfolio that's out there. You're transparent, you're authentic. It's out there for anybody to see. And so I think it's a terrific message to put out into the world and put out to potential employers of what you're doing and what your thoughts are in the education realm. It's also terrific for self-reflection. I think it makes us better educators when we spend time reflecting on these topics that are important to us. So I hope that that you will take that leap if you haven't yet and become a blogger, because the community is terrific. There's a lot of support out there. Blogging is about community. And as you know, today we need to be more of producers of content than just consumers of content. So I'm going to really encourage you to become a blogger. You don't have to blog every single day. There's no rules about how often or what you blog about, but you will find support out there when you take that leap. I also just want to remind you again, dig your well before you're thirsty. If you're an aspiring leader, find those people who are doing what you want to do and connect with them. Find out how they're doing what they're doing. What are their secrets? What are their experiences? What are things that they've learned? And also be sure to share some of your experiences, because you want to give as much as you take. If you are part of the Aspiring Leaders cohort, this is a reminder that you'll be receiving an email with links to all the resources that we've talked about tonight. There is another webinar coming up. The second webinar in the series will be out in a couple of weeks. And that topic is about taking advantage of professional development opportunities. So we hope that you'll join us for that webinar. We hope that tonight was terrific and you really learned some things and can take some of these things back and put them right into practice. So thank you for joining us tonight.